A week that the one biggest thing that we should have been talking about was debt ceiling, and are we going to raise it, and is it going to be raised on time? Well, I have hot headlines coming 2 minutes before starting recording this video. But actually this week was hijacked Wednesday, 4:20 p.m. Eastern time, when Nvidia reported their quarterly results. We're going to summarize the week. We're going to go over all the headlines, all the news of a lot of stocks, a lot of companies that you probably have in your portfolio. And we're going to ask ourselves, where are we going from here? When actually there are two letters that are right now driving the market. AI. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Micha Stocks from our channel Stock Talk with Micha Stocks, where we talk about stocks, we talk about companies and everything that is happening in the market. Just a quick reminder, nothing here is financial advice, and everything that you see here is only for educational purposes and entertainment mainly. And none of this thing here is financial advice. Again, I'm reiterating that. Let's dive in to everything that happened this week, and we'll start with our channel that has over 1.7 thousand subscribers, where you can share with your friends, add more people to the channel so we can get more exposure. And by the way, if you write a comment or you like the videos, that also helps the YouTube algorithm to expose more people to the channel. Let's start by diving into the markets. This week, S&P ended the week on the green side, plus 0.23. NASDAQ, the best performer this week, up almost 2%. Russell down 0.5%, and Dow down 0.65 because Dow didn't have all the hot stocks of the week. We're going to talk about them, of course. This is performance year to date. S&P is already 10% up year to date. NASDAQ is up almost 25% from Jan 3rd. This is becoming an amazing, even if it stops here, this is an amazing year. Russell up 1.27, and Dow is down from the beginning of the year. This is a whole different year than 2022. Crypto, not a huge movement this week. Bitcoin on a 5-day scale didn't move a lot. ETH didn't either, but still year to date, both of them are up over 50%. Ether is up 52%, and Bitcoin is up 61.5%. When we look at the different sectors, semiconductors is or was the best sector for this week, up 10.5%. We're going to talk about that, but it is a good way to understand that sometimes you can play a theme without choosing companies. When you choose a sector without choosing companies, you are actually exposed to all the companies for good and for bad, rather than choosing one company and hoping that that company would outperform. That's a good way of being exposed to semiconductors. And if I zoom out, you can see on the chart, look what happened from Wednesday all the way. This is Thursday, Friday, crazy performance. And if we go up to the major sectors, you can see technology up 4.6% this week, and communication service. A whole different year than last year, where they were the biggest laggers. And down under, we can see the consumer staples and materials. These are the top 17 stocks that we follow. Nvidia, 166% year to date. Crazy. 24.5% 5-day scale. Or should you chase Nvidia? Well, according to measurement that we do relative to the 50-day moving average, Nvidia right now is at a poor timing, and it's extreme overbought. It's 2 to 3 standard deviations further from their average, which means that they're super extended. That doesn't mean it can't go up. That doesn't mean it can't go up 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe even 10%. But from a technical perspective, and also from a process perspective, buying a stock when it's in poor timing, extreme overbought, the way that it is just not the best practice. Let's call them that. Same for AMD, which had a huge week, 20%. After that, we had SoFi up 9.7, Tesla up 7.2, And the worst performers are NIO, the Chinese EV company, Shopify, PayPal, and Energy, of course. And joining them, SolarEdge minus 0.5, which isn't that dramatic. This is our heat map. And you can see if you're not a technology company that says AI, you're probably red. If you are a technology company and you say AI, you're green. The only caveat to everything I've said up to now is Costco, that, by the way, in their earnings call, do you know how many times they mentioned AI? You know what? Fun fact. Let me show you something very interesting here. I'll go to one of the platforms I use. It's a Bloomberg equivalent called Koifin, and I can run the transcripts here. Let's take NVIDIA as an example. NVIDIA, on their earnings call, this is their transcript. You can see it in a second, earnings call. This is everything they said on their earnings call. If I highlight the term AI and click enter, you can see how many times they mentioned AI. And of course, there's more and more and more. If I go to Marvell, also reporting on Thursday, I'll do the same thing, earnings call, AI, enter. You can see here, actually, we're going to talk about them. In the first minute, they mentioned AI 8 times. When we go to Costco, reported earnings this week as well, and we'll go to their earnings call, and we'll do the same thing. Are you ready for it? Nothing. Costco shows that you can still be green without saying AI. Okay, are you ready for the news summary of the week? Let's start it off with everyone's very optimistic on debt ceiling. McCarthy, Biden, Janet Yellen even raising or pushing the date from June 1st to June 5th. Actually, a few minutes ago, I would say 10 minutes ago, Anne-Marie Horton, AMH, as she's called in Bloomberg and all the rest, got an update or sent an update saying that they have reached a debt limit deal. Actually, while I'm recording this I got the notification on my watch. White House and Republicans reach a tentative deal. You can see 8:44. This is the time I'm recording now, 8:44 p.m. White House and Republicans reach a tentative deal to avoid a U.S. default. So, apparently we're on a good We're on a good start of the week. The week is only going to start, the stock market week is only going to start Tuesday because of Memorial Day weekend. So Tuesday, we will see. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Thanks, CNBC. Let's continue. Wednesday, 4:20 p.m., this man, Jensen Huang, comes out with his quarterly report. The quarterly report was a good quarterly report. There was a beat on the top and the bottom line. But the huge drama came on the next quarter. The analysts forecasted $7.1 billion for next quarter, while Jensen Huang and NVIDIA are forecasting $11 billion. Now, when a company says 11, they mean 12 or 13. The market went crazy. The stock shot up 25%. During trading day of Thursday, they were actually up 30% at some point. This was huge for the tech market and the AI. And why? Because NVIDIA says that according to what they understand the market, everyone is going to need to replace their hardware with new GPUs. Only 4% penetration right now. NVIDIA is by far the leader in that space, which means that we have a new refreshment cycle driven by generative AI and AI, the GPTs, the large language models, and etc. And NVIDIA is at the forefront of it. But it's not only NVIDIA. NVIDIA, yeah, we talked about how many times they mentioned AI 83 times on their earnings report. But that's not only NVIDIA. We also have Marvell. Their shares skyrocketed 32% because their CEO, Matthew Murphy, said the same thing, only on their company. He says, we can see all these orders coming in. This is crazy what's going on. It's a huge refreshment cycle. Marvell is also in the chip sector, and they skyrocketed 32% on Friday. So the market right now is very, very focused on AI and on tech, and this fuels all the results that you saw so far. Is it sustainable? We will see. If all these companies are going to generate huge revenues, the question is, where are they going to get the revenues if other companies are not really growing? But that's a different discussion for now. Amazing news. BT, British Telecom, is going to cut 55% of their jobs. Why? Because of AI. They're going to be replaced by AI. And this reading, this is an amazing reading from Bespoke. Bespoke actually measures from the average of 50-day moving average. You remember we talked about NVIDIA, that is 2-3 standard deviations from their mean. Well, the NASDAQ right now is 3.23 standard deviations from the 50-day moving average. Bollinger Bands, by the way, if you're a technical analyst, measure also these standard deviations, and you can see that 3.2 usually is extreme measurement for good and for bad, and right now we're at extreme measurement for good. Usually it comes with a correction. Again, I'm putting aside the debt limit, the debt ceiling, all that might fuel the market, or actually maybe the market would sell from the news, because there's a saying that says, buy the rumor, sell the news. And if everyone bought the rumor and that's why the markets went up, selling the news might happen Tuesday. We will see. Fed talk, Fed speak. They keep talking, Mester and others. This is Kashkari saying, you know what, maybe we can not raise rates on June and wait for July. Basically, they're still waiting for data. The question is, why do they keep raising rates when everyone knows that they're going to drop the rates? Well, the only people that are not saying that they're going to drop the rates are Fed officials. So we'll see that in the next few weeks. You remember this? This was an item that I shared last week. This is Rahm Emanuel, the U.S. ambassador to Japan, which shared with everyone that the Japanese are going to invest $1.5 billion in Micron for creating a new facility. And you remember that Micron, from a technical perspective, you might remember, might not, was very stretched. Remember, overbought, standard deviations. Well, it should have corrected. How do you correct the stock? You get bad news. This came in Sunday or Monday morning. China finds cybersecurity issues with Micron. By the way, do you think this hurt Micron? We'll see that in a second. First of all, only 11%, this is according to Bloomberg, only 11% of the revenue coming from China, or actually for Micron, 11% of the revenue is coming from China, meaning that it doesn't really impact that much. Qualcomm, on the other hand, has 64%, Broadcom 35%, Intel 27%, etc. You can see the numbers there. Now, when we pull up Micron chart here, and do you think in the last 5 days did it really impact? Well, the beginning of the week was a bit challenging for Micron, but then NVIDIA shared their amazing news, and all the market ripped, all the semiconductors, and Micron ends at 12.3. Well, that news didn't last long, did it? And this is Gunjan Banerjee from Wall Street Journal that shows us a very interesting chart. JP Morgan, right now, after all the acquisitions, and maybe they'll do more, has now more than 13% of the US deposits. Quick reminder, in the US there are 4,500 banks. They own 13% of deposits and 21% of credit card spending. This makes JP Morgan the behemoth right now in the financial sector, by far bigger than all the rest, and they're hoping for other banks to kind of collapse so they can buy them for cheap. One bank that is doing everything they can for not being closed up is PacWest, Pacific West, which sold 74 real estate construction loans to generate $2.6 billion of revenue, or actually liquidity. Meta has filed a record $1.3 billion, a $1.3 billion European privacy regulator user data fine. Yeah, but didn't really impact the stock, just so you know it. And the fight over Ozempic, the fight over weight reduction is heading into faster gear. Pfizer says that they have an oral weight loss instead of Ozempic, which is injection. And everyone is trying to find a solution to compete with Ozempic. Ozempic is a shot that you take daily, if I'm not mistaken, to reduce your... it's supposed to control the sugar in your blood, but actually it became more famous of its weight loss impacts. So everyone right now is seeing a huge market and is trying to push. And this was supposed to be the top headline. Fitch, one of the three big rating firms, Fitch places US on on a rating watch, on a negative rating watch, saying that if you don't fix the debt limit, we're going to take away the AAA rating. Well, that, as you saw a few minutes ago, this is off the table. This is a fake. It's not true. It's fake. It's fake. It's fake. But this fake, 22nd of May, this is a picture that was spread very, very fast on the 22nd, which showed huge explosion and fire near the Pentagon. The stock market reacted fast to this. I'll show you a chart in a second how everything dropped when this broke on Twitter. This actually came from a verified account on Twitter, which is even more problematic than other cases. But here you see, this is the stock market chart where you can see everything dropping and returning after a few minutes. The Pentagon came out with a statement that says nothing happened there. That is part of the problems we have right now with AI, and that's why a lot of tech companies are asking for regulations. And some investors are feeling that they're left out. They bought T-bills. They were promised that 2023 is going to be a rough year, at least at the beginning, and they should buy bonds. They bought bonds, 3-4%, and the market is ripping. And they're asking, can we buy yet? And the analysts, we're going to see that at the end, are starting to raise S&P targets. So are we going to see more and more liquidity coming into the market, or there's going to be some event that's going to prevent that? We will see that in the next few days. And this is a very interesting headline that came this week. Apple announces a multi-billion-dollar deal with Broadcom, which of course helped Broadcom get to all-time high during the week, to produce components made in the USA. I'm mentioning and I'm emphasizing the made in the USA because this is again part of Apple's, I'll call it, plan to reduce dependency on China. If India is a place that they're producing phones, now they're going to produce with Broadcom chips out of China. Apple is setting the steps slowly and surely to take development and production out of China. Is this something we should be aware of? Of course, we should be very much aware of. We know Nike is doing that. We know Apple now is doing that, and others. It might happen during the next few weeks. And this is Satya Nadella from Microsoft that is updating this week that Microsoft is going to add Bing search to OpenAI, which means that everyone that has ChatGPT Plus can search through that, basically not Googling anymore. And Satya Nadella also this week on Microsoft Build 2023 compared ChatGPT moment to the iPhone moment, to the invention of the computers and everything like that. With the craze of AI in the market, I would say he's probably right. Waymo and Uber partnered to bring Waymo autonomous driving technology to Uber platform. It's okay, it's only in 1 or 2 cities, but still it's great for the vision of autonomy. If you believe in autonomous driving, this is another step forward in the autonomous path. Apple, June 5th they're gonna hold their WWDC 23, and something very interesting. Apple is the company, the biggest company, of course, in the big tech, and it's the company that has mentioned AI the least amount of times. If they're going to talk about AI in June 5th, which they haven't yet, if they're going to show their involvement in AI, which they haven't yet, if they're going to introduce something that is based on AI, which they haven't yet, this might take the market even higher than it is today. And this would be, I would say, the event that everyone is waiting to hear, both letters, A and I. This is Netflix that sent an update to their users saying we're not allowing any more sharing of passwords unless you're in the same household. So now they're going to try to get more and more customers by cracking on sharing passwords. Talked about that. Google Sundar Pichai talked with European Commissioner and trying to create those guardrails for AI. NVIDIA we talked about. Governor Ron DeSantis on Spaces this week announces his running for presidency, or actually for the Republican company, the GOP, and then presidency, and he did it on Twitter Spaces. Of course, there were a lot of glitches and everything like that, but the amount of attention that it got, everyone knows that he's running for presidency, which is a smart move from his side. Going back to liquidity, going back to money coming back into the market. Carl Quintanilla from CNBC mentioned from the Goldman Sachs desk that everyone now is trying to cut their cash allocation and investing back in stocks. This might, again, bring more and more money to the market. Lenovo, their profit sinks 75% as PC demand continues to nosedive. Everyone bought during COVID. Now they don't need a refresh cycle. Probably in the next few months, we're going to see the bottom of this because people are still going to need to buy new computers. But right now, the relevant companies are hurt by that, mainly Intel. And this is the initial jobless claims. This chart came from Liz Young from SoFi, which shows that we're in jobless claims. We are above pre-pandemic, but we're not seeing the job market weakening yet in a way that the Fed can say, you know what, our work is done. And that is still a problem. JP Morgan believe that they can do it better. They're developing their own ChatGPT based on their data, which will provide a service to selected investments for customers. Maybe they'll tell them to buy S&P 500 only by ChatGPT. And this is the other spaces that happened this week. Ford, as of next year, will be able to charge their electric cars with Tesla superchargers. 12,000 Tesla superchargers in the US will enable charging Ford, and all this to help both Ford and Tesla provide more and more charging spots for customers and helping the transition to EVs. This is something we can go over. And if we're talking about EVs, Tesla Model Y is now the world bestseller vehicles for Q1 2023. And this is when the factories are not yet fully ramped up. What will happen when Berlin and Austin would be fully ramped up? This is a game changer. Model Y in 2023 would probably be the best-selling car in the world, as it was in Q1. And this is only going to go and grow faster and faster. And we're going to see Toyota losing more ground. And I would give you a word of caution here. Toyota has no EV strategy, which means that in a few years, I know it might sound strange, Toyota might not exist. Remember this. PC came on Friday higher than expected, 4.4 year over year, above expectation, which was 3.9. We still have inflation problem. And the truck maker, Nikola, has received a delisting notice from the NASDAQ. These were all the headlines for this week. And now we're going to talk about next week. So, of course, the first thing that we're going to see, or we're going to address without even knowing, is the most anticipated earnings releases. We're going to see earnings from HP, computers, Box, AI. We're going to see that's on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we're going to hear from CrowdStrike, cybersecurity, CRM, C3AI, Okta, Chewy, and others. And on Thursday, Zscaler, Broadcom, Lululemon, MongoDB, and others. It's going to be a very, very interesting week, especially when the debt ceiling is going to be behind us. This is the calendar. It doesn't have a lot of interesting data points. This is Fundstrat, Tom Lee's company, that is showing that more and more analysts are raising their year-end 2023 price targets for the S&P, when Fundstrat is actually leading the charge with a 47.50 target for the S&P. That is another 10% from here on the S&P. Just saying. And this is the S&P. End of the week, 42.05. 47 means that we're going to reach a new almost all-time high. We're going to get very, very close. We're far from that. But if we open higher than we were this week, it means that we have created a higher high again and a higher low again, which means that we have changed our trend from a downward trend to an upward trend. This is going to create a whole new market of participants that are going to need to reevaluate their stance from a bearish stand to a bullish stand. And maybe this is the relaunch of a new bull market. If you enjoyed everything you have seen, it would be amazing if you can smash that like button. I'll be here next week covering all the news, everything that happened, and also commentary. Stay safe, happy Memorial, and we will talk next week. Till next time, bye-bye.